Hello friends, welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss modern Indian thought, and the personality which we are going to discuss is M.N. Roy, Manvendra Nath Roy. Friends, he has been considered as a staunch supporter of socialism. In the beginning of his career, he was also a very fine supporter of Marxist ideology, Marxist interpretation of class struggle, and Marxist utopia of the state. But later on in his career, as he got enlightened and he got involved in much more thinking, his views got a little bit changed. So we will discuss later on in the lecture. First of all, the introduction. M.N. Roy was a 20th century Indian philosopher. He began his career as a militant political activist. In the beginning of his career, he was a militant political activist, and he left India in 1915 in search of arms and organizing insurrection against the British rule in India. But when he returned back to India, the whole scenario was changed. The motive for which he left the country, the motive has changed for him. He was born on 1887 and died in 1954. He has been considered as you can say the socialist wing of the Congress. Socialist wing of the Indian National Congress was all around Mr. M.N. Roy. So what were the political philosophies of him? Militant nationalist phase. The philosophy is of course affected by his life. Okay, as the life of Mr. M.N. Roy proceeds, as the life of Mr. M.N. Roy get into another phases after another, as his political views also got changed. When he was a militant nationalism, his views were different. When he was a Marxist, his views were totally different. And when the humanism phase of his life came, later back when he came to India, then his views got changed also. So we will discuss all these things in next slides. New humanism. It is very important from your exam point of view. What was new humanism as propagated by Roy? So new humanism is something as presented in 22 theses by the Roy, and it is a critical and constructive analysis that how a human can develop into a radical human, a rational human. Okay, the critical concept, the critical aspect consists of describing the inadequacies of communism. Earlier in the career, as I already told you, he was a supporter of communism. He was a supporter of Marxist view of state, Marxist view of class interpretation, class struggle and everything. But he also provided a critical analysis of that. And he said that the requirement of an individual are much more of importance than the state. The state will only exist when there is a fulfillment of the need, whether those are economical, whether those are social. The fulfillment of the need of the individual, of the state, is the testament of the success of that state. Okay, so ultimate theoretical construct of M.N. Roy was the philosophy of radical humanism, or we can say new humanism. It represents the zenith. Zenith means the highest level of an intellectually bewildering journey spanning over a period of 30 years. Actually, it was his journey. It was the journey of Mr. M.N. Roy himself which actually sparked this idea into his mind. He felt that as much as he got to know about the life, as much as he got to know about the society, his views themselves changed. And that happens to every individual. That is why the new humanism means the very ordinary man who has not gone through anything. When he achieved something or when he lost something, he turned into a new man. There is a resurrection of ideas into his mind. And again, step by step, process by process, that man got changed into a, you can say, radicalized man or a new human being. The constructive aspect, the critical aspect of the communism was that it also provide that there should be a parliamentary democracy. There should be representatives elected by the men. This was the critical aspect. Now comes the constructive aspect, and it was that The highest value should be given to an individual. The highest value should be given to an individual, and this provides a humanist interpretation of history and outlined a picture of rational, radicalized, organized democracy in which the highest value is provided to the individual. As we all know, in the today's scenario, the value is given to the state. The benefits of states are put forward to that of an individual. But M.N. Roy proposed that until and unless there is not a satisfied individual, there cannot be a state. That is why he described state. That is why he described a state as a, you can say, as a steel frame around for the protection of the society. Ideas of freedom and justice. As I was telling you, according to Roy, the central idea of 22 theses which he wrote upon the political philosophy is that the individual is prior to society, which is something different from the established point of view, where we say society is prior to individual. But he says that individual is prior to society, and the freedom can only be enjoyed by the individual. Then those collective individual will form an independent society. So his quest for freedom and such quest for truth was that he was laying the greatest emphasis on the personality of the individual as a human being. He was also very critical of all those theories and perspectives which did not take individual as the focal point of analysis, which take state as the focal point of analysis, which take state as the center. For instance, his opposition to Marxism stemmed from, among other things, its undue stress on the phenomenon of class struggle under which the human being lost their individuality. As Mr. Karl Marx proposed, established that there will always be a struggle between different classes of the society, and those who are oppressed, those who are depressed, those who are you can say suppressed, abstain from their rights, they will definitely struggle for their rights. So the emphasis in the Marxist theory of class struggle was given to the society, given to the class. But M.N. Roy was a critique of that. He says the individual should be at the center, and Marx declined the individuality. Okay. At the same time, he also denounced the framework of nationalism, also apparently due to the fact that it also subsumes the personality of human being. As we all know, in today's, whether the federal structure, whether the republicans or whatever the democracies established all over the world, they put state priorly. They put state at the front. Then comes the benefits of the individual. Okay. So I think the concept will be clear here. So what was his critique to Marxism? The Marxian doctrine of a state, according to which the state is an instrument of exploitation of one class by another, is clearly rejected. Was clearly rejected by Roy. According to him, state is a political organization of society. It cannot be the center point of the society. It is just many other organization of the society, like the caste and the creed and something else. These are the political organization. State is a political organization of society, and its withering away under communism is a utopia. Like the communism say, if there should be equal rights, equal distribution of resources provided to every individual in a society, it's an utopia. It's a perception, it's a hypothecation which is actually not possible, and same can be observed by the different experiences around the globe. The communism has been followed from almost all the countries around the globe. The utopia, that dream, has been exploded. Okay. Radical democracy. Roy's ideal of radical democracy consists of a highly decentralized democracy. He was also of the opinion that there should be a decentralization of decision making. There should be a decentralization of resources, opinions, whatever is available, that should be distributed among the people, and the people should themselves form a committee amongst the members of the society, through which they will directly provide a control over the state, direct democratic political control over the state. He also did not ignore the economic aspect of his ideal of democracy. He argued that the progressive satisfaction of the material necessities, it is very important. It is something what also Aurobindo highlighted, that until and unless you did not enjoy the material necessities, you did not enjoy the materialistic world around you, you will not be able to attain that higher level of consciousness. And same was proposed by Roy. He stated that this is a progressive satisfaction. Once you achieve a smaller thing, suppose for an example, if you are a very poor man, your dream will be to have a home. Then your dream will be to have a car in that home. Then your dream will be to have a big business. So these are the material needs. And at the very end, when you achieve so much that you do not require anything materialistic in nature, you will head it towards the spiritualism. So that also was established by Roy. He urged that progressive dissatisfaction of the material necessities is the precondition for the individual members of the society unfolding their intellectual, as I was saying, the intellectual means the spiritual or the bigger thinking, and other finer human potentialities. Until someone is hungry, if someone is hungry, someone is deprived of everything, he cannot think of the bigger thing, the compassion, the goodness, the happiness. He cannot think that because he is deprived of the very basic things. So Roy provided that the state should be accompanied with the policies, should be accompanied by the task, so that every individual, the last individual, can get the material satisfaction so that he can evolve as a human being. So friends, this was the lecture. There were many important things highlighted in the lecture. There is a summary of that. The interpretation of materialism, as I told you, he was not of the opposite. He was somewhat like Aurobindo says, the materialism is required for development of a radical human from an ordinary human. He was critique to Marx. He said that in the class struggle theory, there is much more importance provided to the class themselves. There is no we can say there is no centralization of the individual. There is no opinion in consideration of an individual of those classes. Critique of representative democracy. He says that the representative democracy is like a frame put by the rich people to rule over the poor. Relationship between the philosophy and science. He was also a staunch supporter. He says that until you do not have the language, you do not have the knowledge of scientific things, your philosophy is not completed. And if you are not a philosopher in your nature, you cannot see the humanitarian aspect of science. Your science cannot be used for the welfare of a common man. Okay. So friends, now there is an important question. The question is in the form of assertion and reason. M.N. Roy did not accept Marx's materialistic interpretation of history. Yes, it is true, as I have already told you, that Marx's materialistic interpretation was based on class struggle. He declined that. It had an element of determinism and idealism. Okay, so both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. The question, number one point is true and others are wrong. So friends, that's all for the day. Thank you very much.